The Game of Go, a skill-based board game that originated in China but is popular around East Asian countries like China, Korea, and Japan. In the game, you have to capture territory using black and white stones on a big grid-like board. What sounds like a simple board game actually has a lot more complexity than you might think. While it's a very interesting game, here in the States, Go is relatively unknown. Not much has propelled Go's popularity in the States, but one anime/manga series had for a brief time, called Hikaru No Go. Hikaru No Go is a compelling coming-of-age story with a strong rivalry plot and super engaging episodes that showcase intense Go matches. It does definitely get you excited about Go. Absolute banger of a show. I was so engaged throughout most of it. It was so weird because with longer shows, I struggled to get through them, but out of all the shows in this list, I flew through it and enjoyed mostly every second. Now the story of Hikaru No Go is about a kid named Hikaru Shindo. While trying to find things to sell at his grandfather's house so he can make some money, he discovers a Japanese Go board. This Go board holds a deep secret, however. It contains the spirit of Fujiwara no Sai, a Go teacher from the past who, after being accused of cheating, was forced out of his town and was never allowed to teach Go again. Not being able to make a living for himself and losing all hope, he ends up committing suicide. When he died, his soul lingered on because he couldn't accept his death. Eventually, his soul was forced into a Go board, and only those who are worthy see and accept him as a ghost. The first was Hoinbo Shusaku, who's actually based off one of the best Go players of all time. And the second was Hikaru, of course. Sai is obsessed with Go, so much so that he might very well be the best player of all time. Sai wants to achieve what's known as the Divine Move, which is either a move so perfect that it can change a losing game to a winning one, or a perfect game. This is actually a real Go term, translated into Hand of God from the original text. There have been many different interpretations I've seen online, but I see a lot of people lean more towards it being one move instead of a perfect game. Anyway, with Sai's desperation to see someone achieve the divine move, and how Hikaru is the lucky person of this generation to see him, Hikaru lets Sai play Go through him, hoping to one day achieve or see this divine move. That's not all the story, however. Hikaru encounters a boy named Akira Toya when letting Sai play some Go. Sai beats him, and Hikaru goes on his merry way without realizing that Akira is one of, if not, the best new player around. Akira is so stunned that he starts to chase after Hikaru, not knowing that it's Sai playing through Hikaru. While Hikaru lets Sai play more and more, Hikaru himself becomes interested in Go, and eventually pursues Akira to become a great Go player. Just from the first episode, I was hooked. It set up things really well, and it gives you an idea of what the show will be. It's a classic rival versus rival type deal, and shows that do this well succeed, and are usually super engaging. Hikaru no Go is no different. Just like any good rival, Akira pushes Hikaru forward. By seeing Akira's desperation to catch up to Sai's shadow, Hikaru eventually decides that he'll try to catch up to Akira, and find out why he cares so much about the game of Go. It's great to see Hikaru start with the reluctance to even play the game. As more and more games pass with Sai at the helm, Hikaru decides that he wants to try his hand at playing. This eventually turns into the pursuit of Akira, while also letting Sai play once in a while. The various trials Hikaru has to overcome to get to Akira, and seeing Sai play once in a while, is one of the main draws of the show. Another main draw is seeing Hikaru mature as a person through Go. The show showcases time going by, from Hikaru in elementary school all the way to high school, I believe. You see his growth not only through Go, but in life, and how he acts as a person, which in turn influences his Go. You also get to see Hikaru's natural aptitude for the game, and why Sai appeared before him. Now speaking on Go, if you don't know what Go is, which I didn't going into the show, Go is a board game that originated in China where there are black and white stones. You each take turns placing your stones on the grid board, and through various tactics, you can also steal other players' stones. The goal of the game is to have the most territory left. Sorry my explanation is so vague, but in comes the biggest problem of Hikaru no Go, in my own opinion. Being a classic shonen sports show, Hikaru knows little to nothing about Go, but through time, he gets better and better at it. Unfortunately, they don't explain it very well, which sucks. Go is a super complex game, and even after watching it and trying it out for myself, I still really don't get it. Even in the show, they speak so much Go jargon about move names and such, and I'm just sitting there so confused. There is a saving grace, however. At the end of each episode, there's a little program that was made for the show that explains Go just a little bit. Unfortunately, it's only a minute per program at max, so you don't learn much. Now, I understand that this show is supposed to be more of a character-focused story that has Go in it, rather than being a story of Go, but I would have liked to see some more explanation. Chihayafuru is what this show reminds me of the most. While it's a story more of Chihaya pursuing Arata through the game of Karta and becoming interested herself, there's an interesting love triangle aspect, character growth in both life and the game, and lots of detailed knowledge of the game wrapped up all into one. That's what I could see Hikaru no Go being, at least a balance with both character stuff and the knowledge of Go. What they have right now is good, but with more explanation of the Go, I think it could elevate this show even further. Now, even though the show doesn't teach the audience that much, it makes up for it by being super engaging. With that rivalry I mentioned earlier, there's one source of engagement. Another is definitely the Go matches. If you've ever seen Queen's Gambit on Netflix, these matches feel a lot like that. They really just let the game speak for itself for the most part. The only commentary comes from inner thoughts of the opponents, the spectators, or Hikaru and Sai, and it's not super prominent. They usually just question why they do certain things, or talk about their own strategies. Paired with the most intense soundtrack you've ever heard for a show about a board game, the matches, made me at least, super hype. You know that feeling you get when you watch a super hype fight scene in an anime? Every match in the show is like this.
これでは中央と左両方しのぐのは苦しい。
The Divine soundtrack is so stellar. Every song is such a banger, and it really fits the mood of every scene so well.
バレたらその時で。
確かにちょっと打てるものなら1手目から並べ返すのはたやすいこと。しかし光が石を持ったのはついこの間。
It's also great to listen to outside of the show like I do. I've played this soundtrack for my sister and my mom, and they both really enjoyed the soundtrack, despite not listening to any anime soundtracks like I do. That's how nice the songs sounded. I also love the openings. All three of them are bangers, but I really like the first and the third ones the most. The character designs are also stellar. I was surprised when I watched this show because the character designs look clean and somewhat familiar. That's because the artist of this manga is the same artist for Death Note and Bakuman. His art is so clean, and that's no exception with this show. The characters are great in this show as well. Every character you meet is just so interesting, and we even get to see the growth in their Go skills, especially when we meet some of the pros in training, or Insei, as they call it in the Go world. Seeing everyone work off of each other is great. I also really like how they showcase how tough it is to actually become a pro Go player. There's a whole arc about it, and it has many characters who have failed the test many times. It makes for such great tension and excitement. Besides not telling you much about the sport, there were some other things that upset me too. The last 15-ish episodes kinda suck. Something happens that throws Hikaru for a loop, and he kinda fumbles around a bit, but what he learns from it is good. After that arc is over, it kinda gets better because we get to see into another character and his journey, but it's still kind of upsetting. The largest cry is that this anime doesn't finish the story. A lot of anime do this, but it's sad when you watch 75 episodes plus an hour-long special and the anime still doesn't finish the story. The manga doesn't go much further, I believe, so it's not too bad, but I would have loved to see the end animated. If you're looking for another sports show to watch, I highly recommend this one. I've been meaning to watch this show for quite some time now, and even though they don't really explain Go, the engaging nature of the rivalry, seeing Hikaru's growth in both Go and life, and the Go matches, make it worth the watch. If you want to check it out, it's on Crunchyroll, that's where I watched it. Thanks for watching another episode of What I've Been Watching Too. This had been another thing on my list for quite some time like I just said, and I'm really glad I checked it out. It was so much better than I ever thought it would be, and I wouldn't mind watching it and buying it on Blu-ray, if they even have that. Don't forget to subscribe so we can get this to a wider audience. See you next time, and don't forget, join the Hive Mind.